Hi YouTube, welcome to another edition of Horror Hands, and for this video I'm going to go through 10 great horror films that I've only ever watched once. I've never revisited them. So I was thinking a little bit about this while I was preparing for the video, and when I was a kid I used to watch movies over and over again. I'd sort of know them line by line and I'd have no problem rewatching them multiple times. And I think back then, first of all, I had a lot more time on my hands. I was able to do that. And as a kid, when I was younger, I didn't have a collection like this. So I had a lot less movies at my fingertips. So the movies that I had that I enjoyed, I just watched them over and over again. And a lot of these films have been ingrained into me and have become my favourite movies and things like that. And as I get older, like I say, I don't have the time that I used to rewatch things, and I have so many movies coming in every month, and I strive to watch everything that I own, that I just don't really have the time to go back and rewatch things. And sometimes it can feel counterproductive to rewatch things when I've got a to-watch list that's 3 foot high. So I don't rewatch films as much as I used to and as much as I'd like to. So these are 10 great horror films that I just haven't been able to revisit a second time. Don't have much really to say as to why, other than the explanation I just said, but feel free to let me know if there's any of these that you think I really should go back and give them another watch. So we'll start with the first one. First movie I've only ever watched once is the Amityville Horror, and I can't even tell you when I watched this. It would have been several years ago. I must have got it on DVD, watched it. I know I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good film. I thought it was effectively scary. Really enjoyed it. Just have never had the time to go back and rewatch it. I've never actually rewatched any of the Amityville sequels. So would always like to. I'm sure I'll rewatch it again at some point, but after all these years I've still not given it another view. Okay, second one on the list is Contamination, which is a film that I really liked. I had a lot of fun watching this many years ago. Again, I would have got it on DVD and watched it, and I think it was one that I was quite surprised by how much fun I had watching the movie. It's one of the official video nasties here in the UK. You never quite know what kind of a film you're going to get from a movie that's on that list. But this one, like I say, I had a lot of fun watching it. I love the gooey alien pods and the practical effects in this. Ian McCulloch was great. It's one that I would really like to rewatch again. I have contemplated doing so, but I've just never got round to it. But it's certainly one that I would like to put on again and just enjoy it for its gooey alien nonsense. Okay, next one on the list, number 3, is Dead Heat. And very similar to Contamination. I just remember having a lot of fun watching this one. Again, it was many years that I watched it, but I thought it was a really entertaining film. I really loved Treat Williams and Joe Piscopo in this. They had a great on-screen relationship. Joe Piscopo, if I remember right, was really funny in it. Vincent Price has a role in this, which was really cool. And yeah, it's just another one that I'd like to put on and revisit it and see if I enjoy it and if it makes me smile as much as it did the first time. I'm sure one day I will get round to doing that. Okay, number 4 on the list is The Haunting. I'm pretty sure I've only ever watched this once. It's I remember quite a few of the scenes rather vividly. The scenes when like the ladies are in the bedroom and there's all the banging and the creepy stuff going on. So I do kind of remember that quite well. But I believe I've only ever seen it once. I've never had the time to go back and rewatch it. I did watch the remake from 1999 not long ago, and I thought about putting this one on just to revisit the original, but I just haven't had the time. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I've only seen The Haunting once. Okay, next up is House of Wax, the Vincent Price one. And again, I have fond memories of watching this. I thought this was a really good film. Vincent Price in this was excellent. I love the wax figures, and I think at the end when the wax museum is burning down and the figures are melting and Vincent Price is losing it as everything around him gets melted away. Really cool film. I definitely have good memories of watching this, but again, never had the chance to revisit it. Right, next up is The House on the Edge of the Park. So I haven't seen this one for years. So this is Ruggero Deodato's rather extreme home invasion movie. This is the film that he followed up Cannibal Holocaust with. And I'd heard that this one was a pretty sort of hard-hitting film. So I remember being quite intrigued to check this out and see what kind of movie he made after Cannibal Holocaust. And this is a film that I remember being quite pleasantly surprised with how good of a film this was. I thought it was rather captivating stuff, and it is rather unpleasant in places. There's some very kind of prolonged scenes of this woman being attacked with a razor, if I remember right, and it certainly delivers on sort of the gore and the exploitation front. And yeah, overall I remember being very impressed with this film and regarding it in a higher sense than what I ever expected to, and thought it was a very good follow-up from Cannibal Holocaust. Completely different kind of film, but an impressive follow-up. And it's one that I'd really like to revisit it. I'd like to put it on. I'd like to see if it still holds up and if it still has the power that I remember it having when I first watched it. But again, I just don't have the time to do so. But I'm sure I will one day. Okay, next up on the list is Return of the Living Dead Part 3, which is actually my favourite one from the Return of the Living Dead series. I'm not actually a huge fan of these movies. I've seen them all in the franchise. I've seen the first one 2 or 3 times in an effort to try and get into it a bit more, but I'm just not a fan of it as much as other people are. And other than the first one, I've only ever seen the other movies once, but Part 3 is the only one that I really enjoy. I think it's a fantastic film. I love the zombie chick in it. I think she plays a great part. I really like the story. I love the gory practical effects in it, although I think this DVD is slightly cut, unfortunately. And yeah, it is the one film in the franchise that I would really like to put on again, because I found this one very enjoyable and very entertaining. So yeah, that one would be my go-to film to watch again in the Return of the Living Dead franchise. Okay, next up is Sleepwalkers, which is a really underrated 90s Stephen King movie about these cat creatures, from what I remember. I don't remember as much of it as I'd like to. I do remember it having some great cameos in it, and the story was really good. The effects of the cat creature people in it were really good, but other than that, it kind of eludes me, which is a shame, because I do remember really liking this one, and I like the 90s feel of it. And as I say, it's a rather underrated film. It goes under the radar. It certainly goes under my radar. I've only watched it the once, and I don't remember too much about it, and I don't talk about the movie all that much. But Sleepwalkers is a great 90s horror film, so another one I would love to put on one of these days and just revisit. Next up, number 9 on the list, is John Carpenter's Vampires. I've only ever watched this film once, and as you may know, I am a huge John Carpenter fan. Most of his films I've watched multiple times, but this one I've only ever watched it the once, and it was a long time ago. I don't remember much about it. I remember it being very cool. I thought it was a really cool movie. James Woods hunting down vampires, and I think if I remember right, they stray around the usual kind of traditional vampire trope. So if I remember right, they don't react to sunlight or garlic or something like that. There's only certain ways to kill them which are kind of opposite to what the movies suggest. But yeah, I just remember it being a very, very cool film, and being a good film, enjoying it, thinking it was a little bit different for John Carpenter. But it's been so long since I watched this one. I really need to check this one out again and just remind myself what it's like. And then the last movie on the list, this is an interesting one. This is a film called The Vineyard, one that you don't really see or hear of very much. And this is an interesting film for me, because I got this film just as I was starting to discover YouTube many years ago, and starting to notice that people had channels talking about their DVDs and talking about horror movies. And I started to get lots and lots of recommendations for kind of obscure alternative horror movies, such as this one. And whatever the channel was back then, I was watching it, and I was just starting to learn about kind of collecting horror movies and different labels, and like, this is old school Anchor Bay. And this was one of the first movies that I bought based on the recommendation of a YouTube channel. And suddenly this world opened up to me of going on YouTube and listening to these recommendations and finding these kind of alternative horror movies. And The Vineyard was one of those first films. And I remember getting it and really enjoying it, and really kind of thinking it was quite a novelty to be able to get this recommended and track it down and watch it. And I remember having a lot of fun watching The Vineyard. I don't know how well it would hold up now, which is one of the main reasons why I'd love to revisit it and just see what it's like, and sort of reminisce about when I was first getting into collecting horror movies and trying to track down some of the more obscure stuff. So yeah, I'd love to see if I still have fun watching this one. So there you go, guys. That's 10 great horror films that I've only ever watched once. As I say, let me know if there's any of these which you think I really should give a rewatch, and let me know if there's any great horror films out there that you've only ever seen once, but you'd like to revisit. So thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.